Yo, what do you do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, back with you with a new fanfic for you guys, and this one I have been waiting to do for a long ass time now, and now I can finally record it and release it to YouTube. This is one of my last, MHA DxD stories for the channel, so yeah, don't expect me to do any more DxD high school MHA fanfics on the channel, because this will be my last one, hopefully. When it comes to my mind and creativity, it really has no, filter after all. So yeah, any rate, this is The Fallen Hero. Basically, what if Izuku was the son of Azazel from High School DxD? Honestly, I feel like Azazel is has to be at least one of the only male characters that is actually bearable outside of Tobio, after all. Like, those are the only two people. Originally, I used to think Kiba was alright alongside Vali and even Surzetches, but as I begin reading other fanfictions and even look at the Wikipedia, honestly, yeah, Azazel and Tobio are literally the only good male characters in DxD, which is just sad, really. So when I was planning on making that of a DxD fic, outside of that of my DxD Academia and the Heroic Remery, I wanted to think, what if one of Azazel's son was basically one of the main leaders of Gogori and a main character after all? Honestly, there are a small amount of fics that basically deal with that of Azazel being a pretty decent dad. Most of the time, he's kind of like a throwaway character to make that of the, fallen angels that show up in that of the first arc, basically throwaway characters, like with Rainer or that of Kalorna or Mid-Elf, his daughter. Hell, I will not lie, I am one of those people that fell under that stereotype. But again, back then, that was when I was still getting into DxD fics. But for this, I want to show that of the true coolness that is Azazel. After reading Slash Dogs as well, and I have to say, Azazel was an idiot for letting Tobio basically leave Gogori. And I mean, sure, he didn't truly leave Gogori, but he basically did leave Gogori. Let's be honest. He and the Slash Dogs. So yeah. And I kind of thought, why not make another Sacred Gear team since he's so obsessed with Sacred Gears? And this was basically another way to, knock three birds with one stone. I make another DxD fic with Izuku as the main lead. I created that of I give Gogori that of their secondary Sacred Gear team replacing Slash Dogs. And the MC is also Azazel's son. So in a way, it's a win-win with three ideas molded into one. So yeah, I call that a win. But hopefully it would be a good story for you guys, and I hope you guys like it. At any rate, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Chapter 0, Prologue, the governor turned family man. Many, many years ago, during the beginning of Earth's creation, there were many beings that made up the world and the very concepts of reality as well. You have that of the dragon gods, the primordials, the first gods, and the God of the Bible. These beings of creation, created from that of the very essence of reality itself, kept the balance of these many of the worlds, even creating that of alternate planes of reality of the very world, or rather this universe known as Dragonic Deus, where many primordials began to make their own children, and even that of the first gods began to create their own worlds as well. The God of the Bible also began to create too. He would create his first children, otherwise known as the angels. However, they were designed to be perfect, as God likes to call them. However, that was not the case. Even though God likes to see himself as omnipotent and that of a kind and powerful being, In reality, he is not, as a few of his angels would end up betraying him in one way or another. The first one being that of Hamel, or would soon be known as Lucifer. The reason on why Lucifer would basically rebel against his father would become one reason. God, and not just God, but also many other gods' new creation. The God of the Bible and many other pantheons that were created from that of the union of other gods and the primordials would help create that of a new species known as humanity, giving them that where that of their first creations would be devoted to them and them alone. Humanity, on the other hand, would have the right to choose what they want for themselves, the right to choose what they feel like. Maybe not have that of the infinite, undivine power like they have in their earliest creations, but would still have the ultimate potential to reach heights even beyond them if they work hard enough and achieve goals beyond them too. Lucifer didn't like this, so the very first human that they created, such as that of Adam and Lilith, Lucifer basically corrupted that of Lilith, where she rebelled against Adam and chose her own path. The same also goes with that of Eve, but it wasn't due to that of Lucifer himself, but another angel that rebelled, named Sataniel, and corrupted Eve by telling her to eat eat fruit from that of the tree of knowledge, and soon gave to Adam as well. After that, both were forced to leave the heavens in the Garden of Eden and make the earth their own. After that, little did they know, the earth would have tons of other creatures would already be dwelling down there due to the other pantheons and gods meddling with the world itself. This is not about them. This is about that of another angel of God who would also rebel, but for different reasons. This would be that of one angel, an angel that understood his father's love for humanity and their potential as well. However, would never be able to express that love of of the creation of his father, mainly because it was forbidden. But you know what they say? Some rules were meant to be broken. This angel would be known as Azazel, but it wasn't just him. A few other fallen angels would also basically sympathize with Azazel, would understand that humanity has great potential, just as they heard from their father, and believe in it too. However, little did they know that they could also give into that of sin just as much as Lucifer and his newly created ilk, known as the devils. But instead of turning into devils, they became something else, due to them still having that of love and that of worship for their father. After all, when they broke the rules, they didn't become devils. They became fallen angels. The reason being, Azazel fell in love with humanity, and mainly women as a whole. On his first time down to Earth, he defiled that of a woman, feeling the joy of pleasure. Not believing that he got caught, he soon told that of his other fellow angels as well, such as his two closest friends, that being Barakil and Shinmaze, even that of the newest angel of the highest ranking ones, known as the Seraphim, that being Kakebil. He didn't care for that of humans. If anything, he just thought that they were interesting creatures, but he didn't see anything important about them, unlike that of his other comrades and brothers. Barakil was always interested in humans. As for that of Shinmaze, he was interested in them, but not just them, but all other species and races of the world as well. So their curiosity basically took over. All three of them also went down to Earth. Barakil gave into that of his lust as well, while Shinmaze gave in more into that of his gluttony, wanting to know about more of that of humanity, devils, and the other races that began to appear on Earth, such as that of werewolves, vampires, yokai, and many other species too of supernatural creatures. However, God, on the other hand, did not like this. He did not like seeing that of his children given to that of sin. So, what did he do? He cast them out from heaven, and instead of becoming that of devils, but instead, they became fallen angels. Their wings, that was once white as snow, turned as black as night. Wings that made them look like that of an elegant dove, now turned into that of raven-like crows. Kakebeel did not want to accept this, that they gave in to that of what they wished. Shouldn't they have the right to choose for what they want themselves, just like humanity? Despising the unfairness, despising the fact that everybody was torn at their family, that everybody around them had been torn apart. Kakebeel gave in to that of his wrath, and also became a fallen angel as well, to not abandon that of his brothers. Even though Kakebeel was considered to be the weakest of the new 4 fallen angels, they still stick together through thick and thin. Not to mention, it would become that of a domino effect. Many angels begin to sympathize and resonate with that of Azazel and the others. Why should they be forced to follow the rules, follow the laws, and not be able to choose like that of humanity, like the humans below and many of the other creatures on Earth too? Why should they be dictated to follow always the rules, while humans don't even need to? It soon led to that of an uprising within that of heaven, an uprising of fallen angels, demanding that they should have the right to choose for themselves. So, God let them. They have the right to choose for what they want. However, now they would be no longer welcome into the lands of the heavens at all. And if they ever show up into that of heaven domain, then they would be slaughtered where they stand, as being cast out and basically abandoned by their father is their punishment for wanting free will. After that, many fallen angels began to fade. Some died, while some stood their ground. Azazel and his friends, on the other hand, were able to gather at least some of the fallen angels that fell due to their actions. Azazel felt responsible for what he's done to that of his fellow siblings and foreign comrades as well, to lead to this point, homeless and abandoned just for their own wants and desires. However, that would all change when one person, or rather one being, gave all fallen angels and even Azazel a purpose to live. And that would be the first fallen angel outside of them, Sentanaya, one of the very first creatures of fallen angels that God created, even before that of Hamel and Michael, after all. Sentanaya was said to be the most loyal and most devoted to that of the God of the Bible. But why? Why would the first and most loyal angel fall? It was that simple, really. He was betrayed. He was basically tricked and manipulated by Yaldabaoth and by God himself. This was a test to show his loyalty to God, and that was, the false god known as Yaldabaoth would pretend to be the God of the Bible, Yahweh. In his name, Sentanaya would basically do atrocities all across the world, attacking that of multiple primordial gods and the first gods as well, in his name. But when found out the truth that Yaldabaoth wasn't the God of the Bible, he killed Yaldabaoth in that of anger and hatred and betrayal, wanting to go back to the God of the Bible, but find out that it was nothing but a pointless test, a test to see if he would commit atrocities against that of those of the innocent in his name, seeing the fact that his creator has basically has tricked him as well, and forced to kill those of innocence. He decided to abandon God, to abandon everything he stood for and follow his own path, a path of a man who seeks his own choice, and to help those who have been abandoned by their creators. Since that, Santanaya has always helped out those in need, even supernatural creatures and humans as well. And now seeing his newly formed kind of fallen angels needing a home for themselves, he would devote his life to making sure that they have a home. First place to making sure that they get a home is that of the alternate dimension where the current devils are located, otherwise known as the underworld. The underworld is 10 times bigger than that of the human world after all, so there's plenty of space that would allow them to stay there. However, Lucifer and his newly formed Satans, being Leviathan, Beelzebub, and Asmodeus, and many other devils created using that of Lilith, did not accept this. However, the fallen angels may have been weakened due to their holy light connected to God being weakened as well, but with Santanaya gave them a new form of light, the tainted holy light, the dark light of sin, giving them that of the corrupted holy light and use it as a weapon to fight against the devils, making their own territory and making a name for themselves as well, with Azazel and the founding members of Gogori being made. Azazel basically approached Santanaya, telling him that he would be the perfect leader for them. However, Santanaya is saying that his purpose is done, that he made a home for his kind, and a place for them where they belong. They need a new leader, a leader who understood their struggles and pain, and that being Azazel. Azazel was shocked, knowing that the one person that gave them hope and gave them a reason to live, just leaving them behind like God. But Santanaya's last words always stuck within Azazel, saying, "I will never abandon you, because I'm always with you all, no matter what. As long as we bear the same wings, we'll always be connected through you, your children, and your children's children as well." Within hearing that, Azazel couldn't help but be completely and utterly shocked. And then, without warning, Santanaya disappeared, never to be seen again, as the centuries go by. Since then, Gogori has now had that of their own placehold in the world, and now have their own strength to stand on their own 2 feet. However, during this time, God began to create that of multiple other things for that of humanity, a way for them to defend themselves. As time also goes on with that of the Great War, with humanity growing, all the other pantheons and religions began to grow as well, which led to that of all-out war. And the first one to start this war, you would think that the devils, or maybe even that of the Greek gods, possibly even the Norse gods, would basically start this war. You would be wrong. The ones who truly started the Great War, was heaven itself, attacking the devils unprovoked, as heaven sent down their army of angels down to that of the underworld. However, it wasn't just the devils that were attacked. The fallen angels were also attacked by that of heaven's forces as well. It was a grueling fight, which soon led to that of many other pantheons getting involved, from aiding that of the devils, aiding that of the fallen, and aiding that of heaven as well. This would be the Great War that would span generations, with even many humans getting involved. This would also be seen that of the creation of the sacred gear system, allowing humanity to fight against the supernatural. Some were common variety sacred gears that didn't have much to deal with them. However, there were basically 13 most powerful sacred gears, using that of blood, souls, and materials from that of the strongest creatures in the world, known as the Longinuses. These would be the secret weapons against against the supernatural. However, little did God know, while he created that of the sacred gears, Azazel took interest in the sacred gears as well, seeing them as that of more perfect than that of humanity itself. Not, well, at least a close second, to be honest. Creating weapons, armor, and equipment made from that of souls of other creatures, giving that of the wielder more power that can even rival that of gods, especially the Longinus sacred gears. They were truly amazing, seeing the materials, what's made of, and how much it enhances that of an individual. He couldn't help but actually want a sacred gear of his own, or possibly even create his own sacred gear too. However, what he needed to do was get answers from his old man if he wants to know on how a sacred gear ticks. This would be Gogori's number one goal outside of just survival. It would be basically to find how to make sacred gears. Unfortunately, that would be easier said than done. The Gogori went through that of multiple losses. Sure, their victories, and they had that of major victories over that of the devils in heaven. However, it also led to that of many of their own kind being killed. And unlike that of God, who was able to make that of angels no matter what, and that of the devils, who with that of Lilith's help is able to create that of devils any willy-nilly, the fallen angels, on the other hand, can't just be created instantly after all. To be honest, we found out that angels are basically quite fertile creatures after all. And I mean really fertile. Female fallen angels can give birth quite quick, can be already confirmed to be pregnant no matter what. And male fallen angels can impregnate a woman easily. It's an upside. However, the only downside is children are basically born half-bloods. Half-bloods are considered to be even stronger than that of regular generation fallen angels after all. Even between that of regular fallen angels, pure-blooded fallen angels that have children. Mainly because the half-blood takes in that of the characteristics of both parents. The fallen angel trait is dominant. However, the other trait that's added into it, either be human with that of the endless potential of learning that of new skills, the devil trait, adding that of the demonic magic from that with using their imagination after all, yokai blood, because the yokai features are a lot more dominant than that of even the fallen angels after all, but with the senjutsu added to it, taking in that of nature energy of the world, they become that of unstoppable juggernauts after all. So yeah, they have when it comes to fallen angels and half-blood fallen angels, they have the greatest potential. But unlike that of normal other devils and angels that already come out, that of fully grown soldiers and warriors, the fallen angels have to wait that of years for their children to be strong enough to fight on their own. Azazel knew this was happening, and he didn't want to waste out of the lives of all of his soldiers, even the lives of that of innocent children that would grow up that of parentless after all. Even though this is a guy that has had basically his own personal harem after all, he still doesn't want to make at least make his own comrades, children that of, well, orphans out, to be honest. He's not as heartless as people think he is, to be fair. Not to mention, he doesn't want to waste that of the support that he has gained from that of the Shinto pantheon that has aided them during that of the Great War. The yokai and that of Anmyoji lives and samurai lives are just as important as their lives too. Even that of the Norse has basically given them the support too, and doesn't want to waste that trust just to satisfy their own ego and take down that of their own father that has abandoned them. So of course, the fallen angels have to be the first to pull out of this war. Many of the fallen angels, mainly that of the high-ranking fallen angels, not just counting that of Azazel, but Shemhaze, Barrakiel, Tanriel, and also Panamu, and many other cadre fallen angels agreed with this, that their lives are more important than just to satisfy their own pride and anger. However, Kakebil, on the other hand, despised this. As the years go by, the centuries, his anger and rage towards anything that wasn't a fallen angel begins to rise. He despised them, hated them. Every other species to him did not even compare to the ability and skill of fallen angels. And yet, they're being forced to withdraw from this war before anyone else. He despised this. And since then, Kakebil, once basically honored and looked up to that of Azazel as a great leader, but now despised the man and hated him for everything that happens to their species later on, even things that couldn't have been prevented. After pulling out the war, that's when things also went crazy as well, such as, well, the 4 original Satans of the devils all died, Lucifer included. And not just that, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, also was killed in the final clash, leaving that of the angels of heaven leaderless, and even that of the throne of God, the sacred gears system, and even that of the 7 heaven system as a whole, completely unoperable, leading to that of cracks in the system. This would be the end of the Great War. As centuries now gone by, now let's also bring up the fact that the 3 factions are now in that of a Cold War. Nobody wants to restart that of the Great War for anything. The reason being, the devils now have that of Satan, have new Satans. However, it's not the descendants of the original Satans, but those who took up their names as that of titles, otherwise known as the devil's new Satan faction, while the descendants were known as the old Satan faction. Without God, and no longer able to create that of miracles and to support that of the church, the angels remain in that of heaven after all, no longer coming down to earth to take care of the issues that would involve them. And only allowing that of the church, the human embodiment of the Abrahamic faith, be their agents on earth. Unfortunately, as centuries go on, of course, those of their faith become corrupted. Humanity is quite the easily manipulative and self-entitled species as they are, blinded by their own wants and desires and believing it to be justice. As for that of the fallen angels, well, they're pretty just as bad, to be honest. The once militaristic and orderly structure that they once were known for is now basically crumbling as time goes on. Azazel is so blinded by his research into that of sacred gears that he doesn't even bother taking his duties as that of leader and governor general of Gogori seriously anymore, leaving it all to that of his second in command and best friend, Shinhaze, and other best friend and third in command, Barakil, and even that of the Cadre Council. Because of this, it even led to them recruiting that of humans with sacred gears as well. And his biggest research is on that of 2 sacred gears. The sacred gear tied to that of the Black Prison Dragon King, Ritra, where his soul and other abilities were all separated into that of 4 different sacred gears. If the current wielder is able to gain all 4 sacred gears, they would be able to fully become the Prison Black Dragon of Wisdom once again. But instead, however, currently now, Azazel only has that of 2 of the pieces, and figuring out how his father was even able to separate one powerful Dragon King into that of 4 pieces. As for another, it's 1 sacred gear he came up across right after the end of the Great War, and is the one reason on why he's so obsessed with sacred gears even more than before during the Great War. The secret Longinus sacred gear, the failsafe if God ever died, to give humanity another chance to stand above them all, to create one leader who would lead humanity to its greatest future. This Longinus gear would be known as the Legacy Gear, one for all. As finding out about this sacred gear was on complete and total accident. It was about that of 5 years after after the end of the Great War and currently now going through that of the Cold War. Not only that, the devil is currently going through that of their little civil war as well, and the angels trying to restructure things. It also doesn't help that a lot of low-level angels that found out that the God of the Bible ended up dying, it soon led to that of many of them basically falling out of panic, fear, and hatred as well. Which soon led to that of an influx of more and more fallen angels towards Gogori. Even some fallen angels basically thinking that they can still serve God, even if they've fallen, they could still fight against him and try to become that of spies and betray them from the inside out, which has basically led Gogori into that of a state of panic as well. Needing to clear his head, he arrives into that of the human world, somewhere in that of Australia, went over that of a cliffside. He couldn't help but notice that of a demonic beast coming straight for him, as he couldn't help but scoff and prepare that of his own his light sword, as it looks like that of a great sword, within preparing to strike it down. However, and before the demonic beast could even lunge at him, its entire head was basically caved in by one person, and that being a girl with that of flowing black hair. It doesn't even look any older than that of 15. Within soon, Azazel could feel it, the presence of a sacred gear. Basically, he's grown that of a seventh sense to something like this after all, to know what sacred gear, that he can actually feel and know what a sacred gear is. And what he's feeling is definitely a sacred gear user. But then, looking at that of the teenage girl, she can help but look at that of Azazel saying, I have no problems with that of fallen angels. If you're just going to just stand there, at least look around your surroundings and don't allow a little girl to basically do all the heavy lifting. But then, soon, hearing that, Azazel couldn't help but laugh, saying, you got one hell of a smart mouth on you, girl. But then, she couldn't help but say, well, can't blame me. As the two basically sitting over that of a cliff, but then saying, I'm guessing you're a sacred gear user. I've never seen a sacred gear like that just gives that of a person enhanced strength and power, without that of it materializing in person. But then saying, yeah, weird too. Honestly, I kind of just gained it out of the blue, to be honest. Saying, really? Just like that. Saying, yeah, I was 10 years old actually. I've been aware of the supernatural for years. Parents fought basically against that of the devils and even that of the Hindu pantheon and its creatures too. My tribe and I are basically that of spirit mediums. We basically contact with that and communicate with spirits. It's because of those spirits that we're able to survive as long as we have. And we're also aware of sacred gears and many other supernatural creatures. It's because of this we keep our distance. But we're not afraid to fight back in case we're cornered. Within, Azazel saying, interesting. But your sacred gear? Saying, right. Sorry. Like I said, just came to me when I was 10. And when I asked the spirits if they've seen my sacred gear or if they even heard of it, all of them could say that they haven't. Never even seen a sacred gear that enhances a person's physical strength and power. It's always either that of a sword, gauntlets, materializing that of rings on armor, or anything else like that. Give them extra elemental powers as well. Nothing else. Within, soon, Azazel saying, what the hell were you thinking, old man? What kind of sacred gear is this? Within, soon, the girl saying, a sacred gear that was meant to basically give humanity its last remaining hope. Within, soon hearing that, looking back at the little girl, within, he's saying, what? Saying, that was what the old man said. When I heard this, when I basically awakened the sacred gear, it was a message from the man saying he was the God of the Christianity faith, the God of the Bible, Yahweh. Within, saying, the old man? Within, saying, and given that you're Governor General Azazel, am I right? Saying, yeah, that's me. It only seems right that one of his own children should know about his last remaining wish. As the girl couldn't help but clear her throat, within saying, To any of my children who come in contact with this gear, allow me to say that this is my last gift to humanity, my strongest sacred gear that's even destined to surpass the true Longinus. This is known as One for All. Within, the girl's voice transfers into that of the voice of the God of the Bible, as the elegant and omnipotent tone of voice continues on, saying, this was the one. I said that humanity had the greatest potential to surpass all races, even such as God, such as myself. And I was not joking. I truly believe it. The potential of humanity is the greatest thing that me and my fellow gods is our greatest gift. While some of us take humanity for granted, some of us cherishes them, like myself as well. It's that very reason on why I had to basically go against that of my own son, Hemel, or Lucifer. I wanted to prevent Lucifer from causing any more tragedies and pain onto humanity. As for that of my other children, my other wayward children, Azazel and the fallen angels, to be fair, they were never meant to get involved in this war. Within, Azazel hearing this saying, what? Continuing on, the voice, as the girl continues saying, they were free to choose their own life, free to choose what they wish for themselves, never to be involved in me ever again, as they say that they wanted to make their own choices as they wished. So, I freed to let them do as they please, and seeing that they were able to build their own home and their own place in the world, I am truly proud of them. But it seems a few of my children saw that of even their former brothers and sisters as that of eyesores, wanting to wipe them out alongside that of the devils. By the time I realized this, it was already too late. It seems like Azazel and the others already planned on wanting to take me down to avenge their fallen comrades and to retaliate for the attack. Justified, if I do say so. Soon the war spanned to that of other pantheons, other people, and even that of humanity itself getting involved. Not to mention my own frustrations, my own hatred, basically drove me to create something I will never forgive myself for creating. Something that could even give that of the two dragon gods of our universe quite a formidable battle. But then, hearing that, Azazel's eyes widening, saying, what the hell did you create, old man? Creating that of the creature known as Trifexa and sealing it away drained me so much that I barely had any strength left. So I needed to do one last thing before I passed on, and I knew my time was up. I had to create one last sacred gear that basically composed that of my own godly aura, alongside that an ability that's able to copy and basically transfer the traits from one user to another. The previous user was skilled in that of certain types of magic. That magic would transfer over to its new user. If the user was also that of a unique type of species, such as that of a elf or possibly a dwarf as well, maybe even that of a yokai, then that racial trait would also transfer over back to that of its other to its next user, and so on and so forth. As transferring over ability after trait after trait, and skill after skill, this sacred gear user would become the greatest and most powerful user of all, the one who would guide humanity and possibly even keep the supernatural at bay, even that of the very gods themselves at bay as well. This sacred gear, as I said before, is one for all. And in case, even if you see this, Azazel, please protect them. Protect every one for all user you come in contact with your life. Out of all my children, even Michael and Hamel himself, and even Sananiah, I believed you. You were the one person I believe that will keep this task secret. If you are Lucifer, or if you die, Lucifer, then please, at least don't try to cause any more trouble than you already have. And Michael, I know that you are so bothered down with everything that I left behind with you. Truly, I am sorry. You have been so much the obedient and most beloved son, just like everyone else. But I have put too much burden onto you. So if you find that of the one for all users, please do the same as Azazel as well. I leave this gift as my last gift to humanity. After that, the girl soon stopped speaking, as her eyes went back to normal, within saying, "So, that's what I've heard," within, looking at that of Azazel, as he couldn't help but begin tearing up and crying, hearing the last remaining words from his father. However, these tears are completely different. Not from that of the words of encouragement from that of the God of the Bible, but mainly because he has that of a new toy to play with. A new toy to help him understand sacred gears even better. That being one for all. And seeing this girl now, within saying, "Oh boy, it looks like my life is going to be different," saying, "Oh yeah." The girl that Azazel met, who would be known as the first one for all user, her name was Elia. She would basically be the blueprints for Azazel gaining that of sacred gear users and creating teams of them. She would also be that of the blueprints for that of him creating his new artificial sacred gears as well. Understanding the soul and also understanding pacts that need to be made with that of certain individuals and creatures as well. Concepts, on the other hand, were completely and utterly different. Mainly because certain elemental sacred gears, mainly that of 3 Longinus sacred gears, had that of concepts imbued into them. Just like that of the concepts of domination and supremacy that Drake and Albion, both the red dragon of domination and the white dragon of supremacy, took from that of God and would soon end up becoming Longinus sacred gears as well. So Azazel basically stuck to that of his main guns, that being making pacts with that of certain other deities and that of, well, individuals that want to continue living on, but would be willing to become that of either weapons and armor instead. This would be the start of his research into artificial sacred gears. And One for All enhanced that even further by understanding that of the user. Elia was basically a prime candidate and helped out Gogoria since that of its, well, redevelopment after all. However, because of its redevelopment, a lot of fallen angels began going rogue and doing their own thing, causing trouble for other pantheons and even that of the devils and fallen in the church as well. So, the best way to take care of them was to have that of sacred gear users take care of them. Elia would basically be the leader of Azazel's first sacred gear team of Gogori, and they were able to take care of quite a bit of, well, strict fallen angels that caused quite a bit of trouble. And not just them, a lot of other, well, individuals that think that they can take on that of Gogori as well. With this, Azazel knew that he had that of a perfect team. However, he keep forgetting that humans are, well, short-lived creatures after all, to compare to them. Elia ended up believing that once Elia dies, One for All would just go on to that of any other sacred gear and would just be passed on to another, and Azazel would have to find that new One for All user. However, little did he know, that wasn't the case at all. One for All has that of another feature outside of its balance breaker and the ability to basically imprint its traits to its next user. That is that the current users are able to give that of the new to select its new users. Elia was basically using a weakened version copy of One for All for the past 20 years. Her successor, her son, Connor, has already begun developing One for All, with all of her skills and abilities transferred over to him as well. Hearing this, It made Azazel even more floored and more excited for knowing about that of the most powerful Longinus sacred gear. Unfortunately, Ilya didn't bring up the fact about one little failsafe about One for All. If a sacred gear user dies, well, the traits and abilities basically reset itself after all. That means everything that the sacred gear was able to gain from its past users being passed down from one other to another, they would end up all those traits and abilities from magic, from racial traits, to even that of unique abilities and sorts in that of weapon play would also disappear as well, alongside that of their knowledge and memories. Azazel didn't find out about this until that of the fifth One for All user ended up dying in battle. Soon after, finding out after his death, he soon found out that the fifth user didn't even bother passing it on to somebody else. And then, a few years later, he was able to find out about the One for All user from before him. The sixth user was more surprising. It ended up being a half-blooded human and vampire. A Dampier ended up gaining One for All. Azazel couldn't accept this, that the most powerful sacred gear was now in the hands of the vampires. However, he began to think maybe that this is a good thing. After all, vampires are not so kind to that of their, half-blood children, and being Dampiers after all. They're no different than that of devils, to be fair, when it comes to half-bloods too. Sooner or later, the sixth user ended up dying. Then, later on, centuries now gone by, as user to user ended up passing on One for All from time to time, before the latest one ended up dying, resetting the sacred gear once again, and so on and so forth. The longest time that the sacred gear was truly passed on, was that of over 8 times. Not to mention, humanity also began to go through that of a change. A small change, but still a change nonetheless. That being, humanity began to gain that of superpowers. And not like that of the unique powers such as that of magic, chi, ki, tuki, senjutsu, none of that. And I mean like literal superpowers that you would see from that of comic books after all. From that of the West, to be honest. Humanity, turns out, God did give that of humanity another chance of fighting back as time went on. But it wasn't just that of the God of the Bible. Other gods that had that of complete and utter control over that of their pantheons, such as that of the Shinto pantheon, Hindu, and also that of Chinese pantheons, were basically doing this on the side as a one last favor to that of the God of the Bible. These new powers would be known as quirks. Normally, this would be a big deal for that of humanity after all. I mean, come on, it's superpowers. This is the craziest thing that any normal human would have to go through. Normally, yes, but when you basically have that of the supernatural hovering over you and want to keep things in tip-top shape and not cause that of the human world to freak out, yeah, let's just state that a lot of quirk individuals either ended up missing, stayed quiet, or kept their abilities a secret for all this time. Turns out, Azazel basically hired at least that of several quirk individuals into that of Gogori, alongside that of sacred gear users. Add that to quirks with that of One for All, and now you got something that could possibly even reach that of levels beyond anything. But unfortunately, One for All has went missing for years now. He's been unable to find that of its current user, which soon led to him currently now in Japan, all alone in that of a bar, with then drinking his sorrows away. As that of the black-haired, blonde highlighted, goatee wearing, and currently red suit trench coat wearing fallen angel can help but drink his sorrows away, even though drinking doesn't even do anything for him at all. Within soon, as he knocks down that of shot after shot after shot, still basically annoyed at the fact that the one sacred gear that he wanted to keep an eye on, for that of his father and for his research, is now gone missing. I mean, sure, he did gain that of a new sacred gear squad, but knowing them, they won't last for long, especially since since neither of them are either Longinus users after all. So yeah, currently now, his research is stalled. The Gogori is now getting more and more antsy lately. And not to mention, Shemaze has basically been annoying the hell out of him lately. It's like nothing can go well for that of Azazel now. Within soon, somebody sitting right next to Azazel. However, they soon offer that of a drink for that of the fallen angel leader. Within soon, looking at that of the woman, who looks in that of her early 20s, possibly 21 to 22 years old, maybe currently possibly in college by any chance. Within soon saying, "Can I help you, miss?" As getting a better look at her, she has quite that of a slim and quite, well, not as curvaceous, but still quite beautiful appearance. At that, with that of her green hair and that of a ponytail, and she would be quite that of a Japanese beauty. Within, she's saying, "Sorry, you look like you're quite miserable, so I couldn't just sit back and do nothing." And seeing somebody in quite that of a mood. Within, soon saying, it's fine, life hasn't been going easy for me lately. Just saying." Within, she's saying, I understand, but all the same, no reason to give up on everything else and find things at the end of the bottle. I'm only here with that of within, looking back, seeing that of several other young women, seeming like they're actually having a good time here in the bar. Within saying, "Rowdy friends, not your type of tea being around here?" Saying, "Yeah, I'm more into that of the subtle things after all. Just like to relax and have fun with those around me. Eat anything too crazy, to be honest." Within, soon, Azazel, perking up at that of the woman, can help but say, "Seems like it then." Then the woman can help but giggle before then saying, "Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Inko Azame, and you?" Within, Azazel was about to say his name before then saying, "Azazel. Call me Azazel." As he offers up his hand, within saying, "Azazel, that's quite an interesting name." Before then, Azazel basically kisses the palm of her hand, then saying, not as interesting and as beautiful as Inko. As Inko couldn't help but blush, saying, "Oh my." With then soon, a few of her friends behind her couldn't help but giggle and basically woo at that of Inko. Within, she couldn't help but blush, saying, "Wait, no, it's nothing like that. Trust me, I was just trying to help him out." With then, soon, Azazel couldn't help but laugh, saying, "Oh, this woman's going to be interesting." Since then, Azazel and Inko have spent time together from time to time. When Azazel is trying to find that of the One For All user, he ends up in Japan basically seeing that of Inko, fully graduating that of college, as that of both having that of both a minor nursing degree and also, surprisingly, a law degree as well. The nursing degree was mainly for backup, as she mainly wanted to become that of a, lawyer or that of a prosecutor, actually. And let's just say somebody as adorable and as cute as Inko being that of a prosecutor is kind of terrifying if you think about it. Given that she also has that terrifying aura around her when Azazel does something quite stupid in front of her. But all the same, the time that they spend together is quite loving and amazing as well. Speaking of loving, this all comes full head when that of Inko, finishing up that of a full-on report from that of her bosses, was too exhausted and tired to the point that she felt like she needed something to relieve that of her stress. And since Azazel was basically at her apartment, going over that of his duties with that of Gogori after all, let's just say Inko did not hesitate one bit to relieve that stressful itch. And then after that one night of passion, Soon, 9 months later, both Inko and Azazel's son, a young baby boy by the name of Izuku, would be born. As Azazel was happy, he always wanted kids. However, he knew that half of the kids that he did have with that of his old harem, after all, wanted nothing to do with him. Hell, most of them ended up either being dyed or used as that of bargaining chips for that of the. So Gogori would basically have to, surrender to another pantheon after all. So yeah. So it wasn't really a good day to be that of, Azazel's kid back in the day. But now he feels like this would be different. Unfortunately, Izuku was born out of wedlock, to be honest. And for in Japan, that's kind of a big no-no. I mean, many people are understanding and don't see it as a big deal. However, there are still those who are quite traditionalists that did not care about that of Inko's plight, or that, her and Azazel have been close for years after all. All that matters to them is that Izuku was born from that of a conception of both married partners. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it led to that of Inko losing that of her job as a prosecutor. Good thing she could back up on that of her, medical degree as that of a nurse. And if she wanted to, she could go back to college to get that of her doctorate, or full-on doctor's license after all. But now being a mother, she does not have the time for that. As for Azazel, on the other hand, he wants to make sure that he's providing for that of both Inko and Izuku. However, there's only one problem though. Since Izuku is born from Azazel, and Azazel doesn't really have a last name. So, deciding to basically make one on the spot when Izuku was born, that being Midoriya, as Izuku's full name would be Izuku Azrael Midoriya, as his middle name would be a way to honor that of his fallen angel brother that ended up dying before he even got to make up with him. God's angel of death, Azrael. However, little did Azazel know that his son and himself would come in contact with the sacred gear he has been looking for many, many years. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, how did you guys like this? Did you guys think I did a pretty good job settling up that of Azazel's, plight and suffering, and his build-up making that of Gogori, and him finding out about that of the secret Longinus one for all? And if you guys are wondering, will I add all for one? Personally, yes and no. As for the question about that of quirks, on the other hand, originally I was debating on making this like a full-on crossover between High School DxD with that of the supernatural being involved in that of Hero Society and all that. But then I thought, nah, that's just too much work, even for me. Not to mention, I don't want to feel like a carbon copy of other high school MHA and DxD fanfics that basically do the same thing, that basically merge both that of the plots from MHA and DxD together. So yeah, I've decided to basically add that of quirks alone into the world of DxD and its characters, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Just letting you guys know this now, quirks in that of DxD will be a lot more stronger to rival against that of Magic and Sacred Gears. So yeah, just letting you guys know this now. At any rate, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, keep to date with my videos up on the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, main channel, other channel, Patreon, and Cash App. All linked in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later guys, hope you all take care.